Hi everyone, this is Eugene, and we're going to be analyzing a top level game from the recent Tata Steel tournament. So this game was in round 3 between Caruana and Krzysztof Duda. Okay, so the opening was a Petrov defense, and Duda decides to play the Petrov defense even though Caruana regularly plays this as black. So Caruana knows most of the all of the theory in it. And knight c3 is one of the most popular lines now. It gives white quick development, even though he has these doubled pawns, but it's still good for white. So here black plays knight d7. Knight c6 is also another popular option, but this is pretty drawish line, so knight d7 is more interesting. Because less pieces will be traded off in the middle game. White castles queenside and black castles kingside. And here, up to here, it's all mainstream opening theory. So the first new move was rook g1 by Caruana. Rook e1 is the main move. So the idea with rook g1 is to push the g pawn, and black does have two pieces covering g4, but we'll see Caruana's idea later. So here black plays b5, and basically black didn't need to prepare b5 because if white takes, this is bad because of queen a5, which is attacking the bishop and the pawn. So bishop c4 is forced, and then here another good move is d5. The idea being that after queen takes, bishop e6 attacks the queen while also protecting the rook. And then after the queen moves, black's gonna take the a2 pawn, and white's king is very unsafe here because black's threatening queen a1 check, so this is very bad for white. So that's why white just continues with g4, and the idea is that black cannot take the g pawn like this because of bishop h6, and this bishop's basically pinned, so white's threatening h3, and if black takes this, then yeah, h3, and white's gonna recapture the piece, and black's king is gonna be very unsafe here, as well as with the h6 pawn hanging. So so black plays bishop b7, attacking the knight, so white just protects it, and it seems like this is kind of trapping the bishop. It only has one square to go to, but Caruana has prepared something. So if he tried to protect it like with bishop e2, it would probably be worse because now the bishop is no longer aiming at the black king, and then that gives the e4 square as well, so that's why queen e2 is the best move. Bishop f5, and it looks like black can trap the bishop with g6, but actually after knight d4, black has just created a weakness for himself. If he takes the bishop, it's going to be very bad after knight takes. And there's threats of g5 or knight h6 first, followed by bishop d4, and then white is going to probably mate or recapture the knight as well as open the g file. The sample line is queen d7, knight h6 check, king h8, and bishop d4, followed by g5, which black has no way of stopping. So yeah, this is very bad. Black decides to play rook e8, and Caruana plays knight d4. So he has an idea with this knight d4. It also opens up the queen after potential g5. And here black plays knight d5. So if black played something slow like a6, protecting b5, then g5 is the best move, and black's knight has no good square to go to, because if he plays the knight back to d7, there's bishop takes, queen h5, followed by g6, and white is just crushing through with all his pieces. And rook h6 here is a really nice move, sacrificing the rook to bring the other one, sacking another rook, and then there's other lines here, but I just put a sample line with white checkmating, but it's very bad for black. If he moves a knight to d5, then knight e6 is also crushing, because if black takes, then bishop takes, king somewhere, and then takes. And white is up only one pawn, but it should be enough to win, considering how strong his pieces are here. So black plays knight d5. And now we see the idea of knight e6 again. Black can't take this knight, so he moves the queen up. And compared to like a6, it's not like objectively losing here. It's actually still equal, but black just has to play a lot of precise moves. So white follows up with queen f3, just ignoring the a2 pawn. He's trying to create threats of his own, so the threat is bishop takes h7. Black takes a2, then yeah, this is very bad. This is totally safe for white, because probably just bishop d4 is enough, and then followed by rook g3. Yeah. Okay, so that's why black plays bishop f6, prevents the queen going to f7. g5, bishop takes c3, and the idea with bishop takes c3 is that if white takes, then black has at least a perpetual here. So yeah, white doesn't want that. So he takes, and follows up with g6. So this is a very complicated position. If he took on f7 first, then there's queen takes a2, and black's threats are just too fast. So yeah, I mean black has a perpetual here as well, but if he wanted to go for something more, he could play something like this, and it's very unclear here who's better. So that's why he plays g6. It just reroutes the knight back here. And I think even a while back here, Caruana has already calculated bishop d4. So here he's down a piece, but he's really just worried about trying to bring his pieces to mate black. So bishop d4 is a very nice move, because it attacks g7, protects b2 against any perpetuals, and then it also prepares the rook lift. And here if black tries to trade the rooks, it's very bad, because white's queen is just invading, and white will recapture the material and continue the attack. So black correctly gives up the piece back. The knight is needed here to So the knight is needed on f6. So you just play knight f6. It's needed to defend h7 after queen h3, so that queen h7 no longer works. So white just takes the bishop, and black just kicks the queen out. So that he can trade the rooks. He can trade one pair of rooks. And black plays rook e8. Because he anticipates knight e6. He anticipates knight e6, and black sacrifices a rook here. Otherwise, it's going to be very bad. If he plays something like rook g8, let me try to think of, even just knight takes g7 is possible here. But I think maybe queen takes g6 is also good. Followed by knight g5. But yeah, anyways, it's very bad. So black just gives up the exchange and takes on a2 with counterplay. Trying to come out with counterplay against the king. And Caruana decides to repeat once. Obviously king f8 is not good because of queen takes. Decides to repeat once just to gain time on the clock. I think they were in time trouble, and then correctly finds queen a3, which forces a trade of queens, and this is the only way to win actually, because black's queen is just too strong there. So this is it's not won yet, like easily winning, but white has good chances to win, because even though the material is equal, black has 2 pawns for the exchange. White's rook is actually much stronger than the knight here, because there's pawns on both sides of the board. Both sides, so the rook can easily swing while the knight is very slow. And both players play correctly, just normal moves here. And this is when Caruana played his first real mistake in the game, which is rook e1. So a4 is actually the best move. White has to quickly undermine the weakness on b5 before black gets his king close enough. And after something like king e6, then white can attack the b5 pawn. And if black's forced to put his knight on a7 like in such a passive position, white can lock up the king side and just wait for the perfect moment to swing his rook. So let's say black plays something like king f5, rook g1. Knight c6, for example, is bad because of rook g5 check. Yeah, if something like king f6, then king b4 also, followed by rook a1, and then white's just going to pick off both pawns. So h4 is actually a really useful move. Creates an outpost for the rook here to swing the g5 and attack b5 as well. So if black tries to trade some pawns with knight c6 and king d5, white's just going to take all the queenside pawns, and this should be winning. Black isn't in time with his pawns. So this is winning for white. Unfortunately, white played rook e1. So the idea with rook e1 is to obviously stop the king from moving to e6, but I think he missed king e8. So king e8 looks like it's going backwards, but it's actually helping to protect queenside pawns. White does play a4, but it's just not the same effect. Because if something like rook b1, then king c6, black is totally okay. And black has effectively given the role of the queenside pawns to the king, and the knight defends the queenside pawns very well. White just plays h4 because yeah, you can't really make any progress when the pawn's sitting here. protecting both against both the f and h pawns. So it just gives up h4. Well, he gives it up because he's gonna recapture the g pawns anyways. But it's just the position's just being simplified at this point. And black gives up g pawn because white was gonna play rook g4 anyway, so now it makes counterplay on the queen side. Here white has two options. If he plays king c3, then king c5 is also fine for black. He's down a point, but his pawns are just rolling, and he's. Let me just remove all these colors. He's gonna play b3 next, trade off the queen side pawn, and then he can easily stop this f pawn with his knight and king if he needs to, while also pushing up these two connected passers. So that should be a draw fairly easily. White just plays c3, but after c3, there's also counterplay against the c3 pawn. So after king a5, knight e2, they just agreed to a draw for the repetition. If something like rook g3, then probably let me see here what black should play. Knight d5 is good enough. Yeah, so okay, so yeah, Caruana had his chances. He just messed up here on that one move. Where was it again? Rook e1 was a mistake, so a4 would have been really good, and he probably would have won. But other than that, it was a really nice game by him. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the analysis of this.